In that instant, Mark knew it wasn't a bluff, and he smiled. A split second later, John found out what Mark knew, as Gunny pressed the 2 wet sponges to his forearms. The MZB stiffened as this rigor mortis had instantly occurred. The visible eye rolled back into John's head, and the muscles in his face and neck constricted so tightly that he looked like some kind of monster. It did surprise Mark that there was no sparking or crackling noises, but the horrid sight of his former neighbor made all the special effects he'd seen in films pale in comparison. After what must have seemed like an eternity to John, but was probably no more than a few seconds, Gunny removed the sponges. John's body relaxed and was held up only by the tape and rope as he tried to catch his breath. It only took a few seconds for John to regain his composure. He stood back up straight with a look of indignation and shock. "You can't do this to me, you old fucker," he screamed in disbelief. "I've got rights. You'll never get away with this." He blinked his eye as if he had just wakened from a nightmare and was trying to shake off the effects. "When I get a lawyer and tell him what you did to me, you'll all go to jail." Gunny got right in John's face and spoke through clenched teeth. "Who says you're ever going to get a lawyer, John? We might just take your advice and triple S your ass. You know what that is, right? Shoot, shovel, and shut up." Gunny paused. He pulled back and his face and voice relaxed. "Even if we don't kill you and turn you into the sheriff, when you get yourself an attorney, who do you think the authorities are going to believe? You?" Gunny raised his thick gray eyebrows. "Or us?" The man looked at Ralph and then at Mark. John squinted his eye. "Back to business, then," Gunny said flatly. When John didn't say anything... Got disconnected there. Come on, Mel. Not fair. "Back to business, then," Gunny said flatly. When John didn't say anything... "Now, that was just a little taste, John," the old Marine said. "Are you going to tell me..." "Yeah, you okay? You all right? You all right?" All right. "Are you going to tell me what I want to know, or am I going to give you a good zap this time?" John pressed his lips together tightly and glared at Gunny like an infant who refused to eat his carrots, daring his parent to make him. Gunny, his face again blank, pressed the sponges to John's arms again. This time he put them just inside the elbows. Mark didn't know if them being closer to the torso increased the pain or intensity of the shock. John's face contorted again as Gunny held the crippling electrodes for almost twice as long as the first time. When he removed the cables, John crumpled again, the rope and tape again supporting his weight. It took him longer to regain his breath and his composure this time. When he stood up, his jaw was clenched and his eyes burned with hate. Sweat dripped from his head and face. "Fuck you," was all he said. Gunny laughed like he just heard the funniest joke of his life. The old leatherneck's reaction surprised not only John, from the look on his face, but Mark as well. Could Gunny really be enjoying this? Mark had thought he would, but now it was almost more than he could stomach. It would take a truly evil person to get pleasure from something like this. Maybe Gunny has a dark side I don't know about, Mark thought. He could see from the look on John's face that the same question was running through the interviewee's mind. Suddenly the laughing stopped, and the old man's face turned back to stone. "Let's try it in the armpits this time," he said, as he moved the snake-like cables back toward their victim. John's eyes widened and he began to shake. Don't, he screamed. "Please don't. I'll tell you whatever you want to know." He began to cry, his words coming now in short gasps. "How did you know about the rapid response teams?" Gunny asked. It took John a few seconds to stop sobbing enough to answer. "We had a police scanner from the ranch, and we heard the conversation between your radio operator and the sheriff's office. And you never met with or planned anything with Fred Barnes?" "No, I didn't even know who he was until I heard him on the radio."